Alright, BobalosRex here. And today, as we go into 11.2 uh, later, or this coming week, I wanted to talk about one of the things I see mentioned on the patch, and I think it's very interesting. Because overall, the War Within has been an alright expansion. I'd honestly give it an A. Dragonflight was like A plus, leading into S for me, honestly. But maybe looking back at it, maybe more of an A. Both of these have just been A expansions. So this lore rant isn't about the quality. I will do an overall loose ends lore rant about the lore within, but basically, I want to talk about one thing that I saw that I thought was interesting. So let's pull this up. So, War Within Season 3, we got the campaign chapters for Koresh. We got the campaign chapter 4 for Koresh, which is the lead up to the raid. And then we get the War Within Epilog. And I'm like, what? We get the War Within Epilog on Koresh? Or is there going to be more? Because on the PTR, we only got chapter 4. I don't even think we got the raid quest. And we definitely didn't get no epilogue. And the way it's titled, The War Within Epilog, I'm just very curious because in Dragonflight, the Dragon Isles epilogue got a whole patch. We got Belelladar. We got all this stuff, right? They had a patch for the epilogues. But now it's just they're calling it that. Is it really that? Is it just the epilogue to the Koresh stuff, or are we really going to get the War Within epilogue? So I wanted to talk about if we are getting an epilogue. I'm not calling these loose ends yet because we still have a 0.5 and a 0.7 that could, theoretically hit up on some of the stuff I want to talk about, but I'm very curious if we are getting an epilogue. Are we going to actually see in this patch in that second week all the characters of the War Within get an epilogue? Or are we just talking about Illyria, Xalatath, and all that story epilogue? Is that what the epilogue's about? Her? Or are we going to actually go back to some of the areas and get some actual epilogues? Right? Because we've actually done a lot in Khazalgar. Or started a lot. And I do feel like there's some unfinished stuff. But technically, we're not at the end. So I'm not going to do unfinished stuff. But to me, this is kind of unfinished stuff. So I wanted to talk about it. And honestly, I don't know if this is going to be more of a chat or a rant. We'll see how this goes. But let's go from top to bottom and talk about... Ooh, keep it in the wrong spot. The Isle of Dorn. Alright, so... what do we got left going on here? We helped the Storm Riders. They're getting more Griffins. The Earthen are doing good. We got the whole Damn the Titans, Brinth, Moira, Magnes, Undiamond now by the end of the Ringing Depth stuff. Because, let's be real, the Earthen storyline is kind of throughout these two areas. But I want to go over to some of the stuff on the top here. But the archives. Week to week, hitting those quests. So cool. We haven't seen it ever again. And I'm just like, man, I really wish we would get more of that. So part of this is going to be what I want to see. As well as not just me complaining about what I think is missing. Because that's not the point of this. But hitting that Damn the Titans from Brith. After we hear about the Manifold and the World Core and what the Coreway actually is, right? We haven't rebuilt the Coreway. Is the epilogue going to bring us back to the Coreway? Is the Coreway ever going to get fixed? Or, like some have theorized now, are we going to see us spread out what we do throughout the 3 expansions. So, do we think we're going to head over here and then maybe have some stories bring us back to certain spots in Kazalgar? Are we done? Do we really? Are we done with Kazalgar? Do we want to be done with Kazalgar? I bet some people want to be done, but I feel like a lot of people have some stories they want to see continued, and some blatantly go into spots where we're going here. And we'll talk about it in a bit, but there are some stuff still here, and the Core Way is one of them. Because if you did the Archives quest, the Core Way is basically like a looking hole into the World Core. And the World Core, you know, are we going to see if what they're saying is true? Because everyone's now of this belief that the War Within used to be this one type of expansion. I'm going to talk about here. So the idea of the War Within that people want to frame initially, which this could be true, would have ended with the Titan conspiracy. So we would have gotten the War Within intro, spiders, goblins still. I still think goblins were planned. I don't think goblins were put in, because you see Gazlowe early on. And then maybe that's when we were going to get the Orwena stuff. Or maybe it was going to be a spiders, Arathi, then Harineer fighting the Titan. Because that's kind of what I think it is, right? So now if we spread that out, if we stretch that expansion out, so what do we get? We get the War Within spiders, the Narubian, now spread out. So we got that. What did we add? Goblins. Say the goblins were added retroactively, you know, during the stretching of the original War Within, the Titan conspiracy expansion. Like, that's what this could have been, right? There are hints that this expansion alone was going to be the Titan conspiracy expansion by itself. But what we are now what everyone's speculating and what it does look like, it's now stretched out. Okay. So we've now spread it out to the other 2 expansions. Alright, so goblins were added, and then now Koresh was added, which I think is cool. I think that was great. But now we have this Titan conspiracy now dragged out. And this could be cool, but I do think it's like, are we going to come back to the Core Way? What's going to be up with the Core Way is just going to be left here. And then all the new Titan stuff, the World Core, and all the possibilities of that are now moved into Northrend, the Last Titan. Or are we going to see in the Last Titan us come back over here and do some stuff? We'll have to see. But definitely the Archives, the Core Way, the World Core, the Manifold, all that storyline is going to be crucial, but it does seem to have expanded on. And I am a fan of it, but I am sad we didn't get to see the Core Way used yet. Alright. Now what's also cool up here that happened is we got the League of Explorers. You know, Brand's doing some stuff. We got Moira, Magni doing some stuff with Dagran, but they're returning home. So dwarves could be doing stuff. Dwarves could be doing stuff. But we also got the League of Explorers. Or the Explorers League. I knew it was the Explorers League. Not League of Explorers. Dang it. But yeah, so we got the Explorers League, right? Could we get some archaeology back? Every expansion from now until it's returned, I'm gonna be hoping and praying we get some archaeology back. We see the crew. They're working with Horde and Alliance. Literally in the next one, they're doing games for Horde and Alliance. We can just have joint archaeology and expand the profession. And maybe give a lot more. They can do something with archaeology, right? To give more stuff to all the old ones, especially if we're going all over the world. Imagine getting new Draenei stuff on Argus. I don't know. I think they can do something with archaeology down the line. And also, I'm going to mention it now that we're moving down into the Ringing Depths here, because that is one of the things, right? We did a lot with the Earthen, right? The Earthen are now heavily tied with the Dwarves, even though they are neutral. We got Dawn, and basically, the freedom of the Earthen is what fits their neutrality, saying Earthen can go anywhere. The Alliance and Horde have both been working here. We both helped the Forge to allow the Earthen to be made anyways, because we did all that stuff down here. But again, what are we gonna do? Magni had this whole talk with Orwena. He's now not Crystal anymore. He's not a Thragar. What do we do with that? Right? Is that gonna be more stuff that comes into play in Last Titan? Because I definitely feel like a lot of the early stuff, if we piece it out right, if we really examine the cinematic, we have the Earthen stuff front and center, right? We help the Earthen, we do all that stuff, and then they're gonna lead us into damn the Titans, fight the Titans. So all that stuff, now, Last Titan, right? So, what came next? And we really see, actually, one more thing where I'm in the ringing depths. The Freya Sworn and the Kobolds. I think, you know, and people are going to disagree with me on this. You can... I feel like we could get playable kobolds with the new models. Alright? Maybe down the line we could get playable kobold. I'm for playable kobold. The Knights of the Brown Table, awesome. We literally have the Orphan. I would love for the Orphans to be a part of the Epilog. Maybe see how they've been doing. I know we just had Children's Week, but, you know, the little Arathi kid, you know, working for the Weaver. We got the letters afterwards. I thought that was cute. I would really like to see maybe an update from them in the Epilogue, even though it just kind of happened. It'd be a little soon, but still. We're talking about the Epilogue, man. I'm a little sad that it's not getting its own patch. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in the ringing depths, and then the Titan conspiracy, which definitely seems to be leading us more so in the Last Titan. But one more thing I want to talk about, the Siren Isle. I think this whole island was built to, one, show us another world crystal, as well as just give us a fancy ring. Now the lore here just mean it basically Heldia is still active, the Naga are still active, so Ashara is still active, and the Goblins, Earthen, and Rathi are working together and exploring. Right? This was also good hints for our Goblin stuff that we'll talk about in a bit. But the Goblins are doing good. So let's move into Hall of Fall. So what's interesting, if you really think about it, 1.5 and 1.7 do really play into what's going on with the Arathi. In Nightfall, we were seeing that Farron was away. It should have occurred to us that she was away doing Legacy of Erethdor. So basically, Farron went away to do this expedition in Legacy of Erethdor, love it or hate it. Basically back to the homeland of the Arathi. And now she's coming back. Are we going to see Epilogue with her returning after this Legacy of Erethdor quest and actually being like, yo, Arathi, we can head back, we can join them. That's what I'm wondering, right? Because are the Corvus still attacking the Arathi nonstop? Sareki are still attacking them. Hopefully, Nightfall is basically us putting an end to the Sareki, so that cleans that up. But then it's like, what's Belelladar doing? Is the Epilogue going to include what's going on with Belelladar, or did we just help Belelladar? Was that it? Like, we stopped Xalatath, boom, Belelladar in the lore, safe and sound now. Right? But it's weird because I feel like Nightfall still had Belelladar acting up. Still shows Belelladar acting up. So, is the epilogue gonna fix Belelladar? Is that gonna be the great thing? Or is the epilogue gonna be Xal'atath making Belelladar go full shadow? And we may see a 0.5 with Belelladar going shadow mode. Maybe the 0.5. Maybe I gotta put that on my 0.5 list, because we don't know what's going on with Belelladar. For the most part. Other than I think with the Nightfall events it still acts up, honestly. And of course it acts up in game. Like, at some points we do gotta separate what happened, like some stuff that happened in game, and try to fit it in and see how it actually fits into the lore. That's why I'm saying we could see in the 0.5 Farron going away. That could have been clear indication, yo, the next patch is going to be about where Farron went, which means that if the original War Within plan is, boom, hype up the Titan conspiracy here, but fight the Narubians, boom, do Arathi stuff, and we see remnants of that with the Nightfall campaign, with the Legacy of Wrather, do Arathi stuff as a raid, and then we get Rootlands on the side there with the Harineer, and then the big finale would have been in this world core. That means, right, and we'll see if that's true, because I know a lot of us are thinking it, that the Arathi in Midnight may end up being the big bad. And maybe we could see hints of the Emperor, because y'all know I've been on this is the third fleet, so of course we gotta see the second and first fleet. So we could see a big member of the second fleet or third or first fleet being a final boss in Midnight or an interim boss, and they now adjust someone to be the final boss. But I mean, we're all thinking it, Arathi returning home, the Arathi migration. What does that mean? Are they going to be reuniting with... Because that's the thing. We did the quest line, you did the quest line, you helped the Last Mage, they can portal them back home. Well, he's dead. So they can't portal back home. Right? So that's established, right? Because they needed that mage specifically. No other mage can know how to port. You can't teach someone to be a mage from there to do it, I guess. Maybe you can. Maybe one of the Cult of Shadow members. Maybe they bring back the mage that died with the light. Maybe they bring back the mage that died with the light. Oh shit. There you go. You got some ways to do it. But either way, we'll see them migrating home. I think that's very heavily hinted at with the Legacy of Wrather quest. You know, but Arathi may be full. Stromgar's full. Drama starting up in here. The Alliance and Horde need more land. Maybe it's time to expand and up here. You know? And I definitely want to see how the Undead with Kalia are working with Gilneas, working with Thoradin and the Arathi here now, and working with the Maghar here. You got 3 hordes here. Alright. Blood Elves, Undead, Maghar Orcs, and the Frostwolves. The Frostwolves are here as well. All these factions of Horde here. How are they working? How is that all going to end up working with, you know, Gilneas being reclaimed, given back to them nicely? So Gen has no reason, if the Alliance act as the aggressors now that Horde have, you know, returned territory taken in war, they would then be the aggressors here, right? So I would love to see that, like they were here. You know, of course, we may see that Red Dawn, if these Arathi, via the Corvus, via Belelladar going Shadow, migrate, then yeah, there's going to be a lot of Arathi there. Some people that may not be kind to working with others, maybe reuniting with some of those other humans that we see with the Red Dawn. We see them acting up in Midnight, and we will see the Arathi stuff that probably would have been a patch in the War Within, fully fleshed out about them returning to their homeland and acting up, and maybe bringing back the mage and giving us a portal, a hints at the Emperor. I definitely don't feel like the Emperor should be shown until we go to Avaloran. And could we have an expansion where we start here and then we go across the sea? You know, way off over here. Maybe. But I definitely think the fleet is going to show up. And that we may have another person end up being the big bad. But now let's move further down into Ashkahet. The ideas of getting an epilogue with how we just have things sitting in Ashkahet could work. I mean, some people are going to be like, the spiders are fine. And they could just show back up in the Last Titan. In Northrend. I agree. I honestly agree. I think I do want a quest showing us how is Nephris. What is Nephris and the Weaver doing? Are they just forming a council with Nephris? Is it the Weaver, the Vizier, and the new general? Who is the new general? You know, we lost one. I know he had a second in command. They may be moving up, but let's see how they all interact. Get the people to interact. If we're having the War Within Epilog, and it's all just going to be Illyria stuff, and we don't actually get to, you know, get heads up, or at least stay a while and listen to see how the Weaver and Nephris and all them are doing, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Alright? But one of the things I would like to see with the Narubian is, with Nephris, with all the stuff that went on in Khazalgar, with the adventurers coming in and being like, hey, you know what happened in Northrend? She may not regret her decision because it clearly helped her, but she may be like, hey, I learned that there are some survivors, because the adventurers would be like, oh yeah, I helped some spiders up there, and she'd be like, hold up. The Weaver here would learn that, right? And she'd be like, hey, there are some survivors up there in Northrend. Now that the Scourge, maybe more being handled by the Knights of the Ebon Blade, the Death Knight player characters, and Bolvar not having to deal in the Shadowlands being fixed, maybe they go. One of the big things in Last Titan, of course, I've said it before, they're going to be going up there and helping in the Last Titans. But I do wish we do get a little quest here to see what they've been doing. Clarify, the Sareki, the Arathi beat, they should have helped clean up the Sareki, but maybe they had to deal with the Sareki here and start rebuilding, because they did just have to deal with the whole, basically, Spider Civil War. So I'd love to see more with the Narubian for sure. And then maybe they're focused on cleaning up the Black Blood, because they had to deal with a lot of it. You know, the whole Ascended. Do they bring in Ascended that are now defected, right? With the worry that Xalatath can mind control them whenever, right? Because we all know Xalatath is bad. But or we will see some of these Ascended run off with Xalatath. I don't think Xalatath was leading the Sareki in Nightfall. She had no reason to continue that, honestly. So I wonder what she would be doing with the ones she has is still. We may see her if she's a raid boss in in Midnight. We may see some remnant Sareki on her side, as well as the Goblins. So the Goblins are doing great, right? The Goblins in Undermine are now liberated. We don't have to deal with the new Chrome King. The king is gone. The cartels now have a pretty decent peace between them. Maybe maybe empowering the Tinkers Union. Literally, Gazlow's whole short story was about him trying to get better working conditions, talking to Marin. Marin was kind of feeling down for it, but the bosses wouldn't like that. So now we got Marin, Noggenfogger, wanting good for the workers with Gazlow. We got the Blackwater Raiders, now a cartel, turning over a new leaf. You know, doing great. And now we got the venture company under Grimla. I'm seeing a great Tinkers Union that wants to help the goblin. They want to help their goblins, right? Each of them. So they all want to help all of Goblin Society. And I think that's good for the goblins. And I would love to see Undermined utilized in the future. In my opinion, it's one of the best cities. One of the best zones added. People will disagree. But for Goblin content, it's so good. Dastardly Duos, brings us into here. Can we get a Brawlers Club? More Rocket Ways. I would love to see, and many others would love to see, the Galagio used as an actual casino. Undermine has a lot to it. As much as some people hate the drive mechanic, you can just fly to the casino and gamble. There you go. Just like a normal casino. Or you can use the raid teleport and gamble. But, I definitely want to see Undermine utilized again. But the Goblins are sitting pretty. The Goblin storyline is great. They closed that so well. But the story they did not close really well is one that is the hanging thread throughout all of this. The Harineer. If we don't see them in the 0.5 that's coming up, because if we get this epilogue and Orwena is absent, if the epilogue does not take us back here and Orwena is absent, that to me would probably mean the 0.5 will not include her story, and we will for sure see her story later in the saga. And if they were planned later, we can maybe see hints of them in Midnight, but we'll probably see them in Northrend. And that's enough for that. I do got a couple more things I want to say that I missed here. Order of the Night. How would the Order of Night work with the Forsaken? How would Defector's Order of the Night work in the area where we're going to be going, right? Or it is... I really do wonder, are we going to see the Arathi stuck here, right? If there are still attacks going on, the Arathi being stuck here wouldn't make any sense. But to see how fast they built up here, imagine them rolling up over here and building up something. Stratham or something. They clearly got the technicians, right? And then, how are we going to get, though, how do you get the airships out? Are the airships going to go through here and then go up the core way? The Earthen could help them by fixing up the core way. There you go. They fix up the core way, add in a route for Hollowfall, and we see those airships take out, we basically see the Hollowfall Arathi building airships up top, but I wonder if they do get a way to move, or if they'll just stay here in Moreldar. Basically, if Belelladar is acting up, they gotta move. In my opinion, that would be the that would be the idea. Them just staying there, at this point would be silly. And then, of course, like I said, the Order of Night. See them underground, hidden, maybe joining up with the Cult of the Dam, the Cult of Forgotten Shadows. The Cult of Forgotten Shadows, I think, is not that bad. So maybe the defectors of the The people that just want to use the void and not for bad could go hang out with them. So, what else? The last little bit. So, Xal'atath was trying to take the crystal, right? She was trying to absorb the crystal. If we don't see Xal'atath come back and try to absorb the crystal, then she already got enough of what she wanted out of Hollowfall. Right? If we don't see a whole Belelladar turn Shadow in a 0.5, then next up, it's 100% what Xal'atath would be trying to do at the Sunwell. And you can see more of my theories on that. But one of the things that I haven't talked about in those was if Xal'atath is like absorbing these World Soul crystals because she wants to absorb the World Soul, and we see her maybe attempting to do that through the Sunwell or ley lines. One of the interesting thing, and we're going to learn about this in the patch, is, and we already do know it, so it's not really a spoiler, but the Void fears death, right? The Void, in the next patch, specifically the Maw is mentioned to Xal'atath about being a fear, and it really has me thinking, who's in the Maw, who can return, and who could end up being Xal'atath's jailer in the Maw? Sylvanas. Now, do I like that theory? I don't know, but if Xal'atath fears death, specifically the Maw can affect void beings, do we see Sylvanas Illyria maybe to fight Xal'atath or something, right? Do we see Illyria, Yosis? I need you to jail this bitch in the Maw. And Sylvanas is like, I thought you'd never ask. And then we see Sylvanas, Illyria, Verisa versus Xal'atath. Oh my god, it's just flowing out of me now. Oh no. It's bad but good. Like, just... the fans would... I feel like elf fans would love it. I feel like some fans would absolutely hate it. But like, so many elf women! But oh my god, just Sylvanas, Verisa, Illyria fighting Xal'atath. And Sylvanas using the chains, be like, you go into the Maw, bitch. And then drags her down like, no! And then Azeroth is saved. Azeroth is saved. The Windrunner sisters did it, but Sylvanas has to go with her, and they leave Sylvanas in the Maw, but in a better turn, not in jail herself. Or she's fine and she's just back. That's her redemption. She stopped Xal'atath, and then Sylvanas is just back. You know, I'm fine with her being back, personally, but if they do not want her to be around, which I don't think they do. I think they do want... that would be the... that's how you bring her back. Her locking Xal'atath in the jail... in the Maw. Who would be the new... Bolvar could be the new jailer! Does the Maw always need a jailer? Or does it not? I guess the Maw existed before. The Maw existed before the jailer as just a realm of torment. So... it doesn't follow the same rules as there always must be a jailer. But, I would be sus of leaving Xal'atath unattended in the Maw. You know, or no, leave her unattended, and then that's a whole nother expansion. That's Shadowlands 2! Yo, there you go. The Primus. The Primus could keep her locked up. But there you go. That's it. I had to end it with the crazy theory. I think that hit lore rant more than lore chat. But what do y'all think? Are there some stories you want to see answered? I skipped over a lot of little stories. in the expansion. But yeah, we're getting an epilogue. Getting an epilogue. What do you want to see in the epilogue? Y'all know I want Harineer. But now I'm like, could the 0.5 be void this? Thus bringing the Arathi to a point where it's like, yo, we gotta get. And then that's how we get the Arathi Midnight piece of the puzzle. And then in Northrend, we find Harrow Deep in some kind of deep grove. And we help the Harineer there. Unless they're just cut, I mean. But I doubt they're just cut. I doubt they're just cut. They're gonna use them. But yeah. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anyways, thank y'all for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.